what if forgiveness has less to do with the person who hurt you and more to do with how it's affecting you? In this episode, I actually welcome back one of my past guests, Katharine Giovanni. We talk about forgiveness and we talk about other things that are unexpected, like self-publishing and intuition and the nature of reality. I think you're going to love this episode. Welcome to How to Be a Person, a podcast about life with me, your host, Giuliano Grimaudo. Katharine, thanks so much for joining me. How's it going?
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. For anyone who doesn't know, Katharine has been on the show before. It's funny. I didn't even realize how long I've been doing the show until I just started thinking, I should have some of these people back on. I look back and I'm like, oh, wow, I've actually been doing this for a little while now because you were on about a year and a half ago now.
Really? That long? Time flies, man.
I know. I was like, wow, it's already been a year and a half. And so I start thinking, I'd love to have these people back on again and just talk some more. And you specifically, I loved our episode together and what we talked about. And so I figured we can kind of just catch up a little bit and I can see what you're up to since, you came on the show last, and we're just kind of see where the conversation goes,
Okay.
Cool. So so just tell me because I know when we spoke last that you had just released your book about forgiveness, I believe, right?
Yep. I have. It was about a year and a half ago. I write about one book a year.
And so does that mean you've had another book since then?
I'm working on it. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm working on two books at the same time, which is a little confusing, but it is what it is.
Oh, really? Okay. Now, it's funny. I think that there's not a lot of people who, well, first of all, most people will never write a book. And of people who write books, I'm curious how many of them even go on to write more than one.
I love to write, and I've had a crazy life, and I've always thought if some part of my crazy life can help just one or two people out there, then, I'm happy to talk about it, because I've had some really crazy things happen. So, and the book Forgiveness, I wrote the first one. I'm writing an update to it right now. We're doing for the Forgiveness book number 2, putting brand new things in it, which we can talk about it if you like. And I'm also writing a memoir because it's been a long, strange trip.
Well, first, what I'm curious of is what prompted you. Well, hold on. Before we go there, what I wanted to say was what you were talking about when it came to if there's any part of what I've experienced that someone else can benefit from, I'd love to pass that along. For me, I've written a couple books. I will say they're probably not as in depth as your books are. Mine are very the first book I wrote was about habits. And it's not like a crazy book with some crazy knowledge. I just kind of was hey, this is what I learned about habits. This is what's helped me. And so I wrote it in there. And then I have my most recent book is How to Be a Person, and the same title as my show. And that one is more like a collection of little quotes. It's not really long or anything like that. And it's 100. What I called it was How to Be a Person, 100 Gems on Living a Good Life. And so it's literally just tiny little things. There's not even an explanation for each of the quotes. So it's very lightweight. But I have other books in me as well. And that's always been my perspective on it. I think that a lot of people get caught up in that it has to be this amazing book, or it has to include everything that you want to say. And I've realized,
just start writing.
Yeah, exactly. So that first book about habits, that was the first one that I published. And I ended up writing a 2.0 version of it, because the first one, I just was hey, I feel this is really valuable. I want people to get it. And I put it out there, and then I was you know what? There's more that I wanted to say about this. So I went and wrote a 2.0 version. And so my point is just I think it's cool what you said. And I think that more people who have ever thought about writing a book need to hear that it's you don't need to put everything into the book that you write. You can actually continue to write books, and you can write books about different topics. And especially if you're self-publishing, it's you don't have to really worry too much about how long the book is or anything like that,
Let me give people some advice, because I've written 16.
Yeah.
First of all, you're going to think about, okay, I need a formal publisher. I'm not bashing the publishing industry. Really, I'm not. It works for many people. But they own the rights to your book once they publish your book, which means they can change anything they want within the body of the book. I
Mm.
was never cool with that. You're
Yeah.
also only going to get 10% royalties.
Wow.
Also not cool with that. It's also going to take them a year minimum to go to press and get it into, Amazon and
Mm.
bookstores. So if you're not cool with all of that, which I never was, you can publish it yourself.
Yep.
And you can go on Fiverr and find a good cover writer, a good, cover artist. You can find a good copy, a good editor. There's a bunch of people on there. Make sure you use the pros. But people think that when you write a book, you have to come up with a title. And then I have to think of the first chapter and the second chapter and the third chapter. And maybe I need to take a writing course. Okay, don't do that. They're going to ruin your writing. Don't take a writing course.
Yeah.
Just write. Sit down. One of my books I wrote on my cell phone in a chemo chair because I
Mm.
kept thinking of things I thought maybe I should be included, and I was bored. So I just put it on my phone. So
Mm.
just write. You could be writing the middle of the book. Whatever thought comes into your head, write it down. You don't need an outline unless that's how your brain works and you organize well. Just start to write. And then at the end, then you put it into chapters and you organize it and you figure out where,
Mm.
what goes what, like a PowerPoint presentation, okay, that goes there and that goes there. And
Yeah.
then you give it a title.
It's
Just
so
right.
funny you
Don't
say that.
listen to anybody,
What did you say?
including me. Don't
Don't
listen to
listen to
anybody,
anybody.
including me. Just right.
No, I love that. I totally agree with you. I think
Yeah.
what resonated most actually was funny was the part where you were saying like, don't use an outline unless that works for you. And I think that's really what it comes down to is like, what is it that works naturally for you, and just do it. Because like for me, because I'm sorry, I said I wrote 2 books, but really I forgot my first book that I wrote. I wrote under a pen name, and it's kind of like memoir style ish.
I
And
think 3. That counts. I've
yeah,
written
yeah. Oh,
16, but it's over the course of 30 years, and it started with a cookbook that I put together in a hand
mm,
crank binder all by myself. But that third book, that counts. 100%
yeah.
that
Oh,
counts.
for sure, for sure. Well, and that's
Yeah.
the thing is like every book, well, I wrote them differently, right? And like I was thinking about the very first one that I wrote, that I said that I wrote in a pen name. That one, I literally just sat down for a week and I wrote it. And I wrote
There
it
you
from
go.
front to back, and I like didn't change anything. I just sat down and I started typing, and I didn't stop typing until I got to the end of the book, and that was the book that I published. Um,
Perfect.
but I also have heard people, and that's kind of what I did with the Habit book. I've heard people say that as well, that it's kind of like, hey, just like write down everything you want to say about this
Yep.
subject, and you just have it in these chunks, and you can organize it later into a way that's compelling and connect the pieces together. And then, like you said, title it later, but it's just like focus on just getting all of the ideas out and like written, and then you can organize it all later. Like it's not that big of a deal, you know?
But that's the thing, they look at writers like Stephen King, who likes to write a certain amount of words every day, and he gets up at 5
Mm.
in the morning or something, and these big writing, you think, oh, well, maybe I should get up at 5 in the morning and, make sure I do 1,000 words a day. That would drive me crazy because I
Mm.
never make it. I have another friend who can only write, she rents a hotel room and she stays there for a week and she pounds it out. That's her process. That's
Mm.
what she does. Me, I write when the wind moves me. And sometimes I write for 3 hours. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'll skip a couple weeks. But when the spirit moves me, literally, I will sit down and I'll pound it out. Do I start with the first chapter? The first chapter in my recent book ended up to be chapter 9. So no, I'm a storyteller. I write by stories. And whatever story comes out, and I have so many of them, whatever story comes out is the one I usually write that day, and then I organize it.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. I think for anybody who's like thinking about writing a book, they need to
Yeah.
stop thinking about it and just do it. That's really what it comes down to.
And
Just do what works for you
outline,
and get it out there.
if an outline works for you, great. If you want to put it, your outline on PowerPoint so you can move the tiles around on the screen, that's great. That
Mm.
never worked for me. I might jot some thoughts down on a yellow page of paper, but I usually just sit down and I write, whether it's on my cell phone and then I email myself whatever I've written, or it's a piece of paper. I've been known to do it on scraps. It just write.
Yeah.
And don't let
Yeah.
anybody talk you out of it. Oh, you can't write a book. Oh yeah, okay, now that's
Mm.
fire. And now I'm going to do it just to spite you. Don't tell me I
Oh,
can't
for
do
sure.
something. That's fighting words, man. Now I'm going to do it just to stick it to you.
Oh, 100%. Well, I think too, like, I think people don't talk about self-publishing enough. And that's why I
Yeah,
appreciate you brought it up, is because like people think that you like it's like something where you get like picked, to like, here you get to write this book, when in reality, like, you don't need anyone's permission. Like, it
no,
is
you
easier
don't.
than ever and cheaper than ever to get your book out to literally like millions of people. Like, you
But
can write your book and get, like, I know for me, if I had to say, okay, like, what's the cheapest you could do it, and it's like you could probably get your book completely written and published on Amazon for maybe less than maybe $30 to $50, depending on if you need to pay for someone to like design
maybe,
something.
but you
And
need you please get a professional editor to edit your work, and you can get a really inexpensive one on Fiverr, which is one of my favorite places to
yep,
go.
I use Fiverr
And
too.
you might think I can design my own cover in Canva. Maybe design your cover and then go to Fiverr, find a cover designer. Some of them only charge $50, 50
Yep.
bucks, and
Yep.
say, here's my design. What do you think? And they'll turn it into a book cover that looks that doesn't look self-published.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I was just saying, like, on the super cheap end, you could probably spend just a really little bit of money. And if you want to,
Sure,
like, hey, like, I don't want it to look self-published, I want to make sure I look legit, all of that, maybe just a few $100, and you can get
sure.
the book that you've been wanting to write just out there and done.
In a week. I mean, you can get, instead of waiting the year from a traditional publisher,
Yep.
you can get it done in a week. Now, is Amazon going to take a huge chunk of the royalties? I think you only get 40% or something like that. They take a huge chunk.
Yeah.
You got to do it because everybody's on Amazon, but you get to keep the royalties, and
Yep.
you get to keep, but it's your book. So nobody's
Yep.
going to change your words anymore,
Yep.
which, the rights belong to you. If you want to
Yep.
get it get translated into Spanish, do it. I never did. And I could have with the concierge manual, but I was always scared in the middle of the book, because I don't speak Spanish, they were going to put something horrible in the middle of it. It's not that I'm not trusting, but I'm from New York, and I just kept thinking, hey.
I get it. There's no way for you to check it. Like, you can't check that. You just have to trust that it's
No,
like
you
done right.
can't. And once that thought got embedded in my head, I couldn't lose it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So
Well,
I
and the
need
other thing with
somebody who
Amazon
speaks
too is
Spanish,
that
and I
when you
love it.
publish, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
The other thing when you publish on Amazon is that you control the price, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you get to set what the price is. So yes, they take their
Mm-hmm.
royalty, but you can calculate, well, I want to make this much per book or whatever it is.
Sure.
And so you can set your price properly. And also, it's all print on demand, right? Which means like you don't have to buy a certain amount of copies of your book
That's right.
ahead of time. You just list it. And then when someone buys it, they just print it and send it to them.
I use Ingram Spark for anybody who's thinking of writing. I think
Mm.
it's a good company, and they get the book out. But remember, marketing is on you. You might get a book publicist. Marketing is still on you. You might
Yep.
get a formal publisher like, Hardcore Press.
Yep.
Marketing is still on you. You think a big publisher is going to market your book? No, they're not. They just
Yep.
want the royalties. If you want people to buy your book, you're the one who has to market it. And that's where the work comes in. If you write a book, you're the one who has to market it.
Yep. Doesn't it almost seem as if like a traditional publishing route is kind of pointless? Because you're like, wait a second, you're taking the rights to the book, I'm getting a small portion of it, and I still have to be the one to like make sure it's selling. Like, what exactly are they doing here?
I've written 6 editions of an old book of mine called The Concierge Manual. I have retired from that industry long time ago.
Yeah.
But back when dinosaurs were roaming in 1999, 2000, I came out with the first copy of it. It got to the top of the bestseller list. Don't be impressed, because it was the only book of its kind out there. It had to get to the top. I was the only one who did.
It was the only one on the list.
It was the only one. It's like I've won 3 book awards. 2 are 100% legitimate. The third one I laugh at because it was the only one in its category, so I didn't have to win. So, I mean, have I won 3? Yes, I have legitimately won 3, but one of them sort of counts. But, back in those days, people who self-published got looked down upon.
Mm,
And I had an argument with a woman who was a book publicist in the back of a conference room. I'm a
mm,
storyteller. I have so many stories. But she just didn't like self-publishers. And
mm,
I looked her dead in the eye and I said, through self-publishing, because I get to keep most of the royalties, it pays my mortgage every month. And she looked at me and her eyes popped out and she said, "What?" I said, "It pays my mortgage every month. I market it. I'm the one in control of everything. I,
mhm,
I found somebody to lay out the book professionally for me because in those days I didn't know how to do it. And the book went out. Look, nobody knew it was self published. New Road Publishing looks legit. No, that was us. That's my husband's company. So you can do this. And when people say, oh, self-published, they turn their nose down at you, don't be like that, because you're keeping most of the royalties. You're in control of your book. And at the end of the day, that means more to me than anything else. Now, I'm not
mm.
bashing. Don't email me if you're a professional publisher, please. It's just, my whole thing is I could get the book to press faster and I can
Yep.
do it just as well as they can.
Yep.
Do I
Yep.
have the big, huge following that hardcore press does? No, of course not. But I can still get the job done.
Yeah. Yeah. So if it comes like if what's important to you is maintaining the rights to your book, getting it out to people as soon as possible,
Mm-hmm.
and you being the one in control of essentially the success of your book, it's like, well,
Yep.
self-publishing is like hands down the way to go.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. If you've ever thought about writing a book, Peaceful Profits can help you go from idea to published author and even position your book to become a bestseller. Go to howtobeaperson.co and click Peaceful Profits Author Resource to get more information now. So, okay, so what I wanted to ask you about was you said that you came out with a second book about forgiveness.
We're
What
working
made
on it.
that happen?
It's actually the forgiveness book there's 3 books in the series. We've put out the
Mm.
first one. The second one is being written with 2 friends of mine. So I've got 2 other authors, which is why it's taking a little long. But the
Oh.
first, for people who have not seen the first episode with you and I, forgiveness means simply, I want you out of my head.
Mm.
That's it. I do not want a relationship with you. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. I probably don't. And you don't deserve my forgiveness because you probably don't. So
Mm.
I'm forgiving for me because I want you out of my head. I don't want to have coffee with you. I don't want to see you at a party. I don't want you calling me up on the phone. And I don't want to have to be thinking about you and obsessing about you. I want your name out of my head.
Mm.
And just because I forgive you doesn't mean I'm saying you were right and I was wrong. That's such a
Mm.
huge one. Everybody believes that. 10 out of 10. Well, if I forgive you, I'm giving in. Forgiveness is weak. No,
Mm.
forgiveness is strong. It means I just want you out of my head. It has nothing to do with you. And you can
So true.
forgive dead people because it doesn't matter where they are or not. They could be dead. I've forgiven a lot of dead people. Sounds very
Mm.
strange, but I
That's
have.
actually a great example to show that it's not about that person because they're dead and
It is
gone.
not.
But like there are still people who have died that it's like, oh, you're stuck in my head because I haven't forgiven you for X, Y, Z.
Oh yeah, my father was stuck in my head for a long time. He's been gone for 31 years.
Mm.
But in the first forgiveness book, I'm going to have you write a list of all the people you think you need to forgive. I'm going to tell you the method in 30 seconds or less.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you to write down all the people you need to forgive. Now, the first few people you write down are probably unforgivable. That's fine. Keep going. The kid who you fought with in the sandbox in grammar school, the guy who cut you off on, I-95. Those are the easy ones. Write everybody down. Everybody. My list had 50. We won't go there. Then I want you to rate the people from 1 to 10. 10 is unforgivable, worst of the worst, dumpster fire. 1 is the easiest person in the world. So I want you to rate all these people from 1 to 10. And then I want you to start with the ones. And there's a mantra in the book that I want you to follow, never doing more than 5 a night. And I want you to work your way up the list.
Mm.
In the second forgiveness book, yes, we're going to write that first list of the people who you need to forgive. But I'm going to have you do 2 more lists. The second list is people who need to forgive you.
Mm.
Drop the mic. people that forgive to need you, events, things that you would have, once words come out of your mouth, you can't take them back. So
Mm.
it could be events. It could be family parties where you got too drunk or you did something stupid. It could be, paramedics have all sorts of, things like that. And the military,
Mm.
because they've done things that, maybe they lost somebody and that didn't make it to the hospital. They carry that guilt with them. Maybe it was a child. So I want you to write down all those instances and people and places and things, rate them from 1 to 10, start with the ones, work your way up to the list. The third list, money. Money is a weird thing, man. It does strange things to people. And the only way I could say it is some people are born with an extra wire in their head.
Okay.
And you don't know the wire's there until it goes off. Usually somebody dies, and then everybody gets grabby. And you're like, who are you? I don't know who you
Mm.
are because you're getting grabby.
Mm.
But your thoughts about money are probably very similar to your parents.
Mm.
And you have a financial set point, meaning, let's say you were raised dirt poor and you manage to get a really good job and you're doing very well. Well, your body is used to that dirt poor set point. So the minute you go into a more money, your body is going, oh, I don't like this. I've never been. This feels weird. I don't like this at all, and it's going to make you go back to your set point.
Mm.
So you're back where you started, which is not where you wanted to be at all. You really didn't. That's why a lot of people win the lottery, lose all the money, because they're
Yeah.
going back to their set point.
Yeah.
So by forgiving all of these instances, my parents' attitude toward money, my attitude toward money, I forgave the apartment that happened to be over a fish market. Yeah, yeah, it was really fun in August.
Oh
In my
gosh.
defense, it was all my roommate Monica and I could afford at the time. We were very young, it was very affordable, but it happened to be right over a fish market. My mother wanted to drill a hole and fish. She just wanted to drill a hole in the floor and get a
Oh
fishing
god.
pole. But I forgave the fish market apartment. I forgave that job I had to take because it was the only one available. I forgave the neighborhood that we had to be in. You see what I'm doing?
Mm.
You can forgive people, places, and things. And once you forgive all these things, you're going to find that money flows to you faster. Your perspective will change.
Mm. That's pretty interesting. And so the idea, so just so I understand correctly, because I've heard that before, right? That whole idea that like we have this essentially like, I mean, this is how everything works, right? We have a certain equilibrium or homeostasis, right? That you call it, that
Yeah.
when you get out of it, you're naturally, it's just like when water flows to the bottom of a valley, right? Like that's
Mm-hmm.
like, obviously water is going to do that. And
Sure.
like, essentially what you're doing is like raising that up, right? Or like moving it or whatever it might be, that it's
You're
like,
raising your set point.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, and so just so I understand that what you're saying is that that set point doesn't change because of the fact that we're still holding on to these experiences that we had when we didn't have money. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we're holding on to the resentments. You're holding on to the pain.
Mm.
You're holding on to these hitchhikers in your brain that have no business being there. And once you evict all of these people, places, and things, then things can flow to you. Now, everything on our planet is energy. Even this little silver microphone I'm speaking into has an energy field around it. So the reason you're stuck, the reason you can't move beyond forgiving certain people, the reason you keep getting triggered, the reason you keep thinking about that childhood that you had is because you didn't forgive the energy.
Mm.
That's where everybody messes up. And the mantra is I completely forgive Karen, to use a really good name. I forgive the energy around Karen. I forgive myself. I forgive the energy around myself. I forgive the energy around the entire thing. Now, if we're
Mm.
talking about an unforgivable act, it could be something you did yourself. Maybe you're a paramedic and you couldn't save somebody. Well, you may not be able to forgive yourself or that unforgivable person, which is fair. You may not even be able to forgive the energy around that event, also fair. Pull apart the memory. And to use the paramedic example, I
Okay.
forgive the ambulance. I forgive the gurney. I forgive the driver. I forgive the patient. I forgive the drip. I forgive the medicine. I forgive the city, the road, the bench, the park, and the energy around all these things. And that's going to take the energy out of that memory. So it's going to go from a number 10 maybe down to a 9.5. And then you can pick another memory, do it again. That might take it down to a 9. And now you might be able to say, okay, I can make my first pass. Maybe then you can forgive yourself. One pass. Are you still a 9? Yeah, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. It took me
Mm,
months to forgive my father. He was a number 10 and he's dead.
mm,
And it took me months to get him down from a 10 to a 9 to an 8. And I finally got him down to a 2 or a 3, and I did forgive him. Now, let me be clear. Um, if the person you're forgiving is alive and well and you have to see them once in a while, they're going to piss you off again. Excuse
yeah.
my New York language, but they're going to piss you off.
Yeah.
And you're going to be at a family event and you're going to take one look at them and they're going to say something really stupid. Maybe they're a narcissist and they're going to say something really stupid to you. And in your head, you're going to get angry again. But I promise they won't go up to a 10 again. They might go up to a 4 or a 5. You're going to identify and say, wow, they're pissing me off again. So you're going to spend probably a couple nights kicking it again, using my method in the book. You're going to kick it again and you're going to, say the mantra every night and you'll get them back down again. I don't
Mm,
promise these people are never going to piss you off again, but they won't go up to a 10 and you're not going to hold it like a prisoner hostage in your mind.
yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting because I think there's a lot of people who are promoting different like techniques for getting over stuff, you know? And I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
them, they seem to be like very quick or like, hey, just do this thing. And it's like a fast solution. But what I like about what you're saying, and I mean, don't be wrong, I love fast solutions, but I feel like when it comes to things that you feel like are just like hanging over you, right? Kind of like in these examples, I can understand how it's something that might take time, but it's
Yeah.
essentially it's almost like you're like it's like it's like you're trying to brainwash yourself into it not being a big deal anymore, right? But it's kind of like like you're using almost like affirmations, like you said, to like change your mind about the situation. And it's interesting to think that like well, because it almost feels like we get to where we are through a repetition of thoughts and feelings, right? And so it only
Well,
kind of makes
repetition,
sense that we would get out of where we are or get past it through the same thing. It's like we've created this like this place that we live in, emotionally speaking, through like these repeated thoughts, right? Like you think about something
right.
that happened, and you go, that person was such an asshole, or they did this, and that pisses me off, and that was terrible, and blah blah blah. And you say like a million different things, and then someone says, "Oh, okay, now you have to like every day say, I forgive this person, I forgive the energy around this person." You're like, I'm not going to do that. That seems stupid, right? But you're like, you realize that's what you did. That's what you did to get here. You thought about this
That's
thing
right.
over and over and over and over again in that direction. If you want to get out of it, you got to think about it in the other direction.
But repetition is the key to mastery, isn't it? And I'm
Yeah.
not, another thing that people say that's pretty stupid is, well, forgive and forget. No, I'm from New York. I can speak for everybody in New York City right now, and I can look you in the eye and say, we never forget anything. So that's off the table right there. But
So
what I
funny.
can promise you is I can look back into my past. I can look back at that kid who tried to commit suicide in the 8th grade, and I can look at that Catherine and I can see her from a different perspective. I can see the adults that were trying to help that kid. It changes the memories. You see it from a different side. You see it
Mm,
from the other side of the door,
yeah.
so to speak,
Yeah.
and it's different. So are those first few passes when you're really mad, are you going to mean it? Not even one. You're not going to mean one of them. I completely
Yeah.
forgive Karen. No, I don't.
Yeah.
You're not going to mean one of them. But if you keep at it and you pull apart the memory and
Mm,
let's say it was a Thanksgiving, so you forgive the table, you forgive the chairs, you forgive the people that didn't do anything and didn't help you. You forgive the turkey.
mm.
You forgive the room that you were in, the city, all these things. It's going to take the energy out of the memory and you're going to be able to look at it from a different perspective. And then it'll go down to a 9.
It's really interesting how like because you're not the first person I've heard describe it that you can look at the same situation from a different perspective, right?
Right.
Like we tend to think I feel like unless we get to a point like what you're saying, where you're trying to like look at things from a different perspective, we tend to think that things just are what they are, right? Like they're inherently good or bad experiences. Um, and maybe they are. I'm not saying necessarily that they're not, right? Any experience someone had isn't just inherently bad. But what I mean is that, like, unless you do shift your perspective, you tend to just look at it and say, like, it's just set the way it is. But what's interesting is kind of like how you're describing, where you kind of shed almost like more light on the situation itself,
Yeah,
and you can look at it from a different perspective and go, okay, yeah, I was really angry about this and it really made me mad for a really long amount of time. But also, I can kind of see it from this other perspective too now, where it's like, that kind of made me who I am. And like,
right.
I really love who I am. And like, this part of me is like
Exactly.
a huge part of who I am as a person. And like, I wouldn't necessarily be this person if it wasn't for that experience. And so it's kind of interesting to be able to look back on our experiences and say, oh, when I had it, I thought that this was objectively just not good, terrible experience. But then looking back, I go, oh, I guess it wasn't all, even though I didn't like it in the moment. I don't want to go back and live through it. It wasn't necessarily just a bad experience.
Like, I come from a very dysfunctional background, and my family taught me what not to do. They taught me forgiveness because they pissed me off. They
Mm,
made me angry. They gave me something to forgive, if you want to look
uh,
at it from a different perspective.
yeah.
But if I hadn't gone through that, if I hadn't had to pull myself out of that dumpster fire, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Yeah.
So were my family my greatest teachers in a very warped way? Kinda. Yeah, they
Yeah.
were. And
Yeah.
you look at it from a different perspective. Would I be a forgiveness educator today if I hadn't gone through that crap? Probably not. Probably not.
Yeah. I love hearing
They
your
taught you what
perspective.
not to do.
Yeah, no, I love that. One of the things, because you were talking about money, I actually talk about that too. I have this like meditation. Well, I have a couple different meditations that I sell about money, and I was just talking to my wife about this, that we can look back on like the times when like money was so insanely tight, and
Yep.
it was, oh man, it sucked, right? Like I think back to, like, if I put myself back in
Been
that
there.
situation, I remember like almost like
It's
feeling like I
awful.
was like hyperventilating and not sure what I was going to do because the rent was coming up and there wasn't money. And
Yep. I'm right there with you. It was
I,
awful.
yeah, and I just, but what's so funny is now I look back on it and I'm like, man, everything that I know about money and like what has helped me to make money and that now I'm teaching other people, all came about
That's what I'm
because of
talking
that
about.
experience,
That's
right?
what I'm
I
talking
had that
about.
like quote unquote terrible in the moment experience that now I'm like, oh my gosh, like we're making money. I'm showing other people how to make, this is amazing, but it's only came about because I had those bad experices. And so,
It's your
yeah,
greatest
yeah,
teacher.
it's
And it
amazing. It's
sucked.
amazing.
I don't want those kinds of teachers. I'm here to tell you, it sucked. I've been where you
Yeah.
are. I had cancer. I mean, I've been through
Mm,
some pretty heady things, and it sucks going through it. But
yeah.
perspective is an interesting thing, and so is time. And now that there's time between me and all that stuff, now you can look, and now I can look at it from a different perspective, and I can forgive the pieces of it. Now, I may not be able, you may not be able to forgive the unforgivable. Maybe it was a murder or a rape or something really the worst of the worst, but you could pick apart the memory. Maybe you'll never be able to forgive that one person, and that's fine. There are unforgivable things in this world, and we're all
Hmm.
different, and our tolerance is different. But you can forgive the other pieces of the memory:
Yeah.
the table, the chair, the bed, the city. I forgave
Yeah.
1974. I forgave
1974.
1974. Yeah, I forgave 1974 because that's the year I was horribly bullied in school and I tried to commit
Mm,
suicide. I was in the eighth grade.
mm,
And I pulled apart the pieces. I forgave the school, the energy around the school. I forgave the playground, the energy around the playground. I forgave all the kids except the bully. It took me years to get that one knocked off.
yeah.
But I eventually forgave 1974 because that was the year everything came to a head. And I forgave the energy around 1974. And I can't tell you how much peace that brought me. I mean, I sound like a crazy person, but this stuff works. It's like the law
Yeah.
of gravity. The
Yeah.
law of gravity will work whether you believe in it or not. We can call the law of gravity the law of keeping Catherine on the planet. Doesn't care. It's
Mm.
going to still work. Well, Catherine, I don't believe in the law of gravity. That's good for you. Still going to
Too
work.
bad.
It doesn't care. Forgiveness is the
Yeah.
same way. Once you forgive and you start this process, you may not think it's working, but trust me, it's working.
Yeah, well, it's interesting what you said. Well, there's a couple things. So first of all, about the fact that like you were saying, like forgiving, the chair or the room or the year, right?
Serious.
It
Mm-hmm.
almost seems silly, but when you think about it, the memory is made up of all of those things,
That's right.
and like all of it kind of holds that charge, right? Like when you think about what
Yeah.
happened, you do think about everything that was around you. Like it's not just the person, right? Like when you think about someone who did something
Right.
bad to you, it's not just that person. There was a whole scene that existed when that supposed wrong happened, not to you specifically, I mean, but anything someone's upset about,
No,
when someone
absolutely.
wrongs you, you're thinking about the whole scenario, and you might not be able to forgive the person, but like of course you can forgive the walls. Like, well, you don't have any problem with the walls, right? Like, feel like you're feeling,
Was it
go ahead,
fair?
forgive the wall. And so it is interesting to think like, oh yeah, it's not just about, because I feel like when you've explained this before, whenever anyone comes on my show and explains something, I always try to look at this from like a skeptical person's perspective. And sometimes like when you say things like, oh, like forgive the chair, forgive the wall, it's like, yeah, I can see someone saying that this just seems really stupid. And that's no offense, right? I'm just
That's
like, I know someone is
not.
going to listen to it and think that.
It does
But
sound
like,
stupid. It does.
yeah, I know, but that's so.
But
But
it's
that's what
not.
I'm saying is what's interesting is I can understand though. So yes, like just on the surface, you're like that seems silly, but if you really look at it, it actually makes a lot of sense because in the memory,
Yep.
all that stuff is there, right? When you think about it, it's not like you, like I said, it's not like you just think about the person doing the wrong thing. Most people can completely put themselves into the situation where that thing happened and think about everything that was there, the time of day, what was going on, what room you were in, what things were in the room with you.
Right.
And so it makes sense that you can isolate those things and individually forgive them and forgive the energy around them, even with still without forgiving that other person, and lower the charge of the memory.
It's a trigger. Think of a bakery. You go into a bakery, you're going to go in for some oatmeal cookies, and you see an apple pie, and you could smell the apple pie. And your grandmother was really mean to you, and she was horrible, and she's
Mm.
unforgivable. And you stand there and you're staring at an apple pie, and all of a sudden you're knee deep in a memory, and you start to get pissed off because it
Mm.
was a trigger. The pie triggered you. So what
Yeah.
do? You forgive the pie, you
Yeah.
forgive the bakery, you forgive the apples.
So
And by
interesting.
doing that, you can forgive, eventually pull some memories out about your grandmother, and eventually forgive your grandmother too down the
Yeah.
line.
That's a
You
great
forgive the
example
triggers.
of how the like when you talk about triggers, like that's a perfect example that it's not just about the person. That there are objects, there are scenes, there are sounds,
Yeah.
there are smells that are all associated with this that trigger people. And that's like very, I think most people will admit like, well, yeah, of course. And it's like, okay, so then you can see then that there are components to this. It is not just about the person. And that it's
Yeah.
about
It's
all of
triggers.
the components together, and that you could pull out each individual component and forgive them.
Let's use a paramedic example. You're making a second list and you need to forgive yourself.
Hmm.
Okay, well, maybe you start shooting yourself to work. I should have got the IV in quicker. I should have given them a shot of. I'm not a medical person, so I should have given them a shot of this
Yeah.
or this.
Yeah.
Maybe if we driven faster. So you forgive the medicine. You forgive the shoulds. I should have done that. Okay, write that down in your list. Label them from 1 to 10 and you slowly go down. I'm taking the charge out of the memory.
Hmm.
Will you ever be able to forgive yourself? Maybe, maybe not. But at least you can take the charge out of the memory so you can live with it easier. And you could start to
Yeah.
breathe again. Breathing is a good thing, people. Breathing in and out and getting rid of these memories in your head that are preventing you from being your authentic self, because you're spending a
Yeah.
lot of time getting triggered by these things. Wouldn't you rather learn how to make more money, get a better apartment, get a better career, learn how to knit or crochet or paint a picture or go sing or be in a rock group? I don't know what you want to do. Play more
Yeah.
golf, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
you can do it from your authentic self because you're not going to be carrying around this whole suitcase full of crap.
Yeah. It's really interesting because that was the other thing I was going to point out about what you were saying about the memory, right? Like, I've said this a lot on this show that like the bad experiences that we have had, or else I say quote unquote bad experiences that we've had, they only exist in our memory, right?
That's
Because it's
right.
in the past, like it already happened, and therefore, like I'm not a proponent of like yeah, just forget everything, right? Just like you said, most people you're not going to forget it anyway, and I'm not I'm not saying like amnesia or something like that, but what I mean is that like it only has an effect on you today as much as
Right.
you allow it to, because all the only place it actually exists is in your mind, is in the memory of it in your head. And so that's kind of what I love about this, is that you're going back into it, you're looking through your memories and going like, what, how can I discharge this memory so that it doesn't have so much of a hold on me today? Because ultimately I'm living here right now. Right? I'm living right now in this moment. Why am I so caught up? And why is my energy so caught up in this terrible past experience when in reality it's not even happening anymore? It was 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago or 3 decades ago, you know? If you're enjoying the show and want to support, go to howtobeaperson.co and click support the show. The more support the show gets, the more episodes can be produced.
Give yourselves a break. The person you are today is not the person you were 5 minutes ago or
Mm,
yesterday or 20 years ago.
yeah.
You did the best you could with the tools you had at the time. Were those tools good enough? Probably not. But you did the best you could. That's how I ultimately forgave my parents. They did the best they could with the tools they had at the time. Was it good enough? No.
Mm,
But that's how I forgave them. They did the best they could. So give your
yeah.
younger self a break. And the person you were yesterday, that's yesterday. You're completely different today. We're given 24 brand new hours. You can
Yeah.
forgive the person yesterday. I can forgive the younger Catherine because she did the best that she could. Look at it that way. Treat your
Yeah.
younger self like a brand new character in a movie. And, you can forgive that person because you're not that person anymore. They did the
Yeah.
best that they could.
Yeah. Do you
Whether it
believe that
was
that's
good or bad, they did their best.
yeah. Well, so my question to you is, do you believe that that is true of everyone, that like everyone is doing the best they can with what they have?
Yeah, I do. Is it always good? No. If they're narcissistic, they really think they're doing their best. Yeah. I've known many narcissists in my lifetime. But, is it the alcohol talking? Maybe. Are they into drugs? Maybe. But everybody on the planet, 10 out of 10 of us, we're all doing the best we can with the thoughts
Mm,
we have, what we've been taught, what we've been socialized.
yeah.
We're all doing our very level best. Is there another piece of the puzzle that we don't know about? Yes, there's so much information out there that none of us know. There's a whole world out there that we don't know. The more I know, the
Mm,
more I learn, the more I realize I have to learn. So yes, 10 out of 10, we're all doing the very best we can at that time. Was it good enough? That's up for debate. But you can
yeah.
forgive that younger person because
Yeah,
they did
and
their
I
best.
appreciate you saying that, because honestly, that is what I feel about people in general. I've talked about this a lot on this podcast, but I believe that people are good at their
Yep.
core, and part of where that comes from is this exact concept that you're talking about, because that's what I believe. I believe everyone's doing the best they can with what they have, and sometimes it is terrible. Okay, so I'm not saying that it's good, but what I'm saying
Horrific.
is like if that's what they're capable of, if this is the best they're capable of given their circumstances, their experiences, their right whatever tools and whatever resources they have available to them, this is their best. Then are they a
Yep.
bad person just because the results are bad? If this is all they have available to them, right? Again, all of these different things. It's like, I don't think so, right? I think they're just doing the best they can with what they have. And maybe it's not going to be a great outcome. And maybe it even harms me. But like, does that make them bad? No, I don't think so.
It doesn't. This is a fine line. I could see all sorts of comments coming in after this conversation. To be honest, have I met inherently bad people? Yeah, I have, and I'm thinking of one person in particular. But I've
Okay.
got their little talent, and I've had it since I was a child, and it got me in just so much trouble. I am very intuitive, and I'm able, and I've been doing it since I was a kid, to see the spark in people.
Okay.
And some people will, everybody said this is a horrible person and you shouldn't talk, but I'm looking past what they're saying, and I'm looking deep inside, and I can see a spark. Sometimes it's the size of a pea, Sometimes it's microscopic, and sometimes it takes over the person like they're a walking ball of love, like my friend Paula. I mean, she's a walking ball of love. Everybody feels it. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's so tiny that you can barely see it. But we wouldn't be human if we didn't have that little spark. Got me into terrible
Mm,
trouble because people would say, don't. And I'd be looking at them going, but I see the spark. Just because
mm,
they have the spark doesn't mean you want to have anything to do with them. Everybody has the spark. Now, does that spark, the smaller the spark, means they're a bad person? I think that's a relative term. It would be very easy for me to say, yes, that makes them a bad person. Do they think they're a bad person? Probably not. They're doing the best
mm,
they can. From what I've learned, does that make them a bad person? It means they have more to learn. Do
mm.
I want anything to do with them? No. Does society want anything to do with them? They probably belong in the state pen. I agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You see where I'm going? I don't.
Yeah. Oh, I
I
told,
hate
yeah. And yes. And
to
I agree
label
with you.
people
I
good
want to
and
make
bad.
sure I'm abundantly clear about that. Like, I
When they're
don't mean that
really,
there's, yeah.
I mean, this one person, are they inherently bad? He was the worst of the worst. Seriously. I mean, no redeeming features at all, and it eventually went to prison. Shocker.
Did he have the
But did he have this?
microscopic?
It was barely. Yeah, I saw it, but it was so faint.
Mm.
It was almost like it was a blinking brain cell at that point. I mean, he had it, but it was blinking. Right? Does that make him a bad person? I suppose on the surface, I suppose it does, but I think it's relative. I have a real hard
Mm,
time labeling even him a bad person, and he was the worst
mm.
of the worst. So, was he
Yeah.
a bad person? I mean, I could say, yeah, he was, but we all have that little spark.
Yeah. Well, I think we all have a tendency to, even me, right, to say that all people are good. Like, I try to put a label, right, to for everything, right, but
There's
especially with
different
people, be
levels
like,
of people.
exactly. It's nobody is all one thing or all
Mm-mm.
something else. Like, everyone is like a complicated, messy, nuanced thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's no such thing as like all good or
Put
all
it
bad.
this way, some people come down to this planet to be good, spread light, live till they're 100. Some people come down purposely to be the worst of the worst so other people
Mm,
can learn things. They purposely come down to break things
mm,
because the only way to fix something is to break it, and then we can fix it. So some
interesting.
people purposely come down to be the pull in the china shop, the worst of the worst. Does that make
Yeah.
them a big bad person? No, because their soul is beautiful. It just means that in
Mm,
human form, they came down to be the worst of the worst, to show somebody else, to prove something, to give somebody a lesson.
mm. Yeah, I think about I forgot who I was talking to on this show that I had a similar conversation where it was like, just like I was telling you before about like the times where money was tight and we had these experiences. I think about some people in my life who have done me wrong, and I remember for a long time like really holding on to that and like being really upset about
Yeah.
it. And then I got to a point where, just like what you were saying, where I'm like, I do believe that there is a certain amount of like intention in like what we came here to do. And it was almost, I got to this point where I said, oh man, I really appreciate you playing that role. Just like I said, where I
There you
had
go.
I had this bad experience, this tight, the issues with money that then led me to this. It's like, oh, because it was the same thing, right? But just in a different arena of my life where I was like, oh, I had this terrible experience, but now I'm this person. And to be honest, if that person hadn't played that role, I wouldn't be who I am right now. And so it was almost like it wasn't even just like a forgiveness. It was more of an appreciation that it was like, oh yes, thank you so much for coming here to play that role for me so that I could be this person now. And I feel like
They were
that's like
they were being
difficult
your
to
shadow.
grasp, you know? Say that again?
They were showing you what lack was, because you can't know love unless you know lack.
Mm-hmm.
There's a children's book. It's not a children's book. It's billed as a children's book. It's called Little Soul of the Sun by Neil Donald Walsh. It is
Okay.
not it is a children's book, but it is the most brilliant story, and it talks exactly what we're talking about. It's about this little
Mm-hmm.
soul who's up there trying to figure out what it wants to be. It wants to be whatever it wants to be, and another soul comes up and said, "I will be the opposite to give you the chance to learn how to forgive. But remember, I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
remember that I'm this beautiful soul. So you're going to have to help me remember who I really am." It's the most beautiful
Mm.
story, and it talks about that. So whoever that horrible person was in your life, it could be you just had a contract before you came down and say, "Listen, I'll do it, but you're not going to like it, but I'll do
Yeah,
it."
it's
So
funny
you can
because
learn love or forgiveness or strength or whatever you needed to learn.
yeah, absolutely. Well, it's funny because I was raised really religious, and maybe 6 years ago or so, I kind of like stepped away from that, and I was like, I don't think I believe this anymore. And so I've kind of gone through different, iterations of what I think about reality. But what I will say is, I still that moment where I thought about that person that wronged me, that felt like the most true experience, like one of the most
Yeah.
true experiences I've had here, where I almost had this realization that it was like, oh, and it's kind of weird to even say, but it felt like it was almost like I remembered that we had this agreement, and it was like, wow, thank you so much for fulfilling that agreement we had. Like that's like genuinely how it felt. And now I have no like any ill will towards this person whatsoever. If anything, I'm like, man, I appreciate this person so much. I'm so glad. I feel like, wow, right? Like that was like one of the best parts of my life, even though in the moment it was terrible. Now I'm like, wow, I love it because it's made me who I am. Um, so I'm curious because you've said it like, and that's one of the things I talk about a lot on this show is like just kind of hearing people's take on like what they believe the nature of reality is. And so can you clarify just a little bit like what you believe we are and why we're here?
That's a big question. I think we all come down with a plan. We're here to learn something or we're here to teach something. And if you come down and you want to learn love, well then you have another soul who comes down and says, "Okay, I'm going to be the opposite of love so you can
Mm,
learn what love is." I want to come down and I want to know forgiveness. Okay, well then I'm going to have to come down and I will give you somebody to forgive so you can learn forgiveness. It's a painful process, but I think that's what we're here to do. We're here to either learn or we're here to teach. I think the earth is just one big giant school.
interesting. And so then that being the case, because this is kind of like what my perspective on it is that if because I feel similarly, right? It seems like we're kind of on a similar page. It's almost as if what we're experiencing right now, regardless of how real it feels, it's almost as if it's not real, right? Like the real version of us was the version of us before we came here. And this is kind of just like a place for us to be able to grow and learn. And if that is the case, then it's kind of like, oh, okay, I get to be here and have these experiences and fully feel them and all of those things. But ultimately, in the end, it's like, well, I know I'm still going back to this other, realer version of myself.
I love rabbit holes. I love going down rabbit holes with podcasters. Favorite thing to do, and I can go all the way to the bottom with you if you want to. I don't think your listeners are ready for that yet.
Okay.
But I think that Earth is a school. In some ways, there's a lot of people who says the other side is the reality, and this is the dream, which is a very strange way to think of it. I know a lot of people are saying we're like in a video game. That's one
Yeah.
perspective. You could look at it as, we are in a video game of sorts, but this video game, I mean, I'm sorry, this stuff it's pretty darn real, right? I
Yeah.
can touch it,
Yeah.
bang on my desk. But I think that when we die, I don't believe we just go to dust. I think we just transform and go back to where we were.
Mm.
I don't believe in death. But and I think that I do believe in reincarnation. Because I can go all the way down the rabbit hole because I'm very intuitive and I do get past lives for people all the time, and I do this for a living. But I've
Really?
gotten enough past lives for people over the years that this is not your first rodeo. You've probably been here
Mm.
thousands of times, nor will it be your last. So
Interesting.
everybody comes down here to learn something or to teach something. Some people come down and say, "Well, my job is to break everything." Okay, good job. Did a great job. You pissed off the
Yeah.
entire planet. Good for you. Good for you. But is it wrong or right? That was their job. That's what they came. Why? Because sometimes you have to break something to fix it. And to get to where we're going, sometimes you have to blow your world up so you can get where you're going. If I hadn't gotten breast cancer, would I be the person I am today? Probably not. My world had to blow up so I could regroup, take a big pause next time the universe, dial back on the severity a little bit would be good. But it was a pause, and now I am who I am.
Yeah. I have a question. Do you associate your beliefs with any like pre-existing like religion or set of beliefs or anything like that?
I was raised Episcopalian, but religion is what we do. Spirituality is who we are, and I'm
Mhm.
spiritual. I am not religious.
Okay.
I've read the
Okay.
Bible cover to cover. Had to in school. I can quote it for you if you want, but I'm very spiritual. I'm not religious anymore. I am
Okay.
who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know
My
we got to
my
wrap
religion
up.
is love these days. That's it.
Love, you said?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know we got to wrap up, but now I'm like, wow, we have to have another conversation. You have to come on again because
Happy
I would love to go
to.
down this rabbit hole with you.
Well, it's a thing, and when it comes to people's past lives, why do I do the past life thing for people? Well, because the lifetime that is gifted to me is the one that's probably tripping you up the most. Let me give you an example. I had a client come to me. It was 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'd been working with this guy for a while. And I don't answer the phone at 7 o'clock in the morning, but I knew this guy, and I hear voices in my head. I'm clairaudient, and I heard answer the phone. Okay, so I answered the phone, and he was in tears. It's a guy, tears, not little tears, heaving tears because he couldn't sleep. He tried meditation. He tried
Mm,
hypnosis. He tried meds. He'd been to the doctor, the psychiatrist. He tried anything, and he said, "Catherine, I will do anything you tell me to."
mm,
All of a sudden, I get this vision. I'd never seen it before. I got this vision like a movie playing in my head, and I saw this guy, this sheriff, in bed with his wife in a small town. And he was a beloved sheriff because I could feel the love from the townsfolk. And I watched this movie in my head while his wife smothered him with a pillow and killed him. And because she was having an affair. And he got very quiet when I told him this. And he said, I haven't trusted women, and I have a lot of trouble dating, and I haven't been able to sleep. And I said, I wouldn't sleep either if somebody smothered me with a pillow.
mm,
After we forgave the memory and we pulled apart some of the things, and I led him through forgiveness, he started within a couple of weeks. He was sleeping through the night, and he started to date again.
mm,
Sometimes when you get angry or something traumatic happens to you, you think, I'm the only one that thinks these things, but you think it leaves your mouth and it dissipates into the universe. It does not. It hangs around your energy field. And it's even more
mm,
convoluted than that because it can follow you from lifetime to lifetime. So you're
mm,
carrying a bunch of old stuff with you. Why are you scared of the water? You've never drowned in this lifetime, but you're
mm,
terrified of the water, or you're terrified of heights. You're probably thrown off a cliff. So the angels will gift me with the lifetime that's tripping you up the most in this lifetime. Then we forgive the pieces of it, and I will often I'll get 3 lifetimes, but then we forgive the pieces of it, and that allows you to move on.
wow. So interesting. Okay. Like I said, we're going to have to talk about this on another episode because we get to probably talk about this
Told
for
you,
hours now. All
I
right,
can
Catherine.
ride
Well,
all the way to the bottom of that rabbit hole with you very easily.
awesome. Well, we'll have to do that. We'll have to set that up. Catherine, I really, really appreciate you coming back on. And it's so funny because I think last time you were on, you had just released the book and we hadn't even we barely even talked about it. So I'm glad we got a chance to talk a lot more about forgiveness this time around. And now we've introduced another subject we're going to have to talk about next time.
That's it. That's it.
Well, I really appreciate you coming back on the show. I'm looking forward to chatting again. And Catherine, I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review or share it with someone who'd appreciate it. For everything I have to offer, visit howtobeaperson.co.